Hello and welcome to the next video. Today we are going to be learning about some basic Linux syntaxing. We see here a list of 10 different commands: ls, pwd, cd, cp, mv, rm, cat, echo, man, and grep. We're going to talk about each of these tools and we're going to talk about how they're used. Try to pay attention and follow along as there will be a quiz after this video. Let's begin. So the first command we have is ls. When we open our terminal, we're by default inside of our home directory. When we type ls inside of a directory, we can see all other directories within our current directory. Think of a directory like a folder on Windows. A folder can have multiple folders inside of it, or a folder might just have files or some combination of both. The next thing that you need to understand is how the Linux file structuring system works. I changed my directory with the cd command, change directory. Now we are in cd/. This is also known more professionally, I guess, as root. We are in the root directory. When we type ls inside of root, we see all of the folders inside of the root directory. The root directory is the highest directory. There are no folders above the root directory. You can think of this kind of like the C drive in Microsoft Windows. Although on Windows you might have like a C drive, a D drive, an E drive, right? For Linux, it's all in one. This is the topmost directory. Everything inside of our Linux system is going to be found within these folders inside the root directory. Let's talk about home directories for a second. So if you notice, when we connected, we were inside the directory that is shown as a tilde. This is referred to as our home directory. If we type pwd, we can see our current directory. Now we see here it doesn't say tilde, it says /home/cali. That's because tilde and /home/cali are both the same thing. Think of tilde exactly the same as this. It's like a shortcut that can make it a bit faster to go to home. For example, when we go back to root and we type pwd, we're just in root. But when we go home and we type pwd, we can see we're in /home/cali. I cannot think of any other directories that have this type of shortcutting system. For example, if we go back to root, we see a directory called tmp. If we enter that directory and we type pwd, we see we're in /tmp. By default, Kali uses Kali doesn't use bash by default. Kali uses something referred to as zsh. We'll talk more about bash and zsh and what that all is. But all you really need to know is that zsh has a nice feature that will show us our current directory without requiring us to type pwd all the time. Great. So again, ls, see the files within the directory, pwd, show our current directory, cd, change directory. An additional command we can use is we can use cd-, and that will take us into the prior directory that we were in a moment ago. For example, we moved from the temp directory into the home directory, and now if we type cd-, we're back in the temp directory. And again, type it, and now we're back to home. Type it again, back to temp, type it again, back to home. It's a nice little shortcut when you're moving around the terminal. Great. Typing clear will clear our current terminal. That's not going to be on the test. That's just to make it look a little nicer. So let's continue. Inside of our home directory, we see several folders. For example, desktop, downloads, pictures, templates, videos, these folders are included by default. Just like on Windows, our folder directory holds, or our desktop directory holds all of the content on our desktop. Great. So one more time, ls shows us what's in our current folder. PWD tells us where we are. CD allows us to change directories. CD dash allows us to go back to the prior directory. Great. Let's talk about these next four commands. So we have cp, mv, rm, cat, and echo. Actually, let's throw echo first. If we want to create a text file within Linux, there are many ways that we can do it. I'm going to introduce you to two ways right now. First, if we say echo hello, we see hello is returned back. If we type echo hello world, we see hello world is turned back. If we say echo hello world, and we use a Boolean, I think this is greater than, might be less than, I'm not good at math, this symbol, this direction, and then we type, for example, output.txt, whatever appears after our echo, for example, here it outputted hello world, this symbol tells our Linux to have the output not be displayed, but instead have it be directed into a file and create that file. Let's demonstrate. So I hit enter and then ls, and now we see output. If we want to view the contents of a file, we can use cat. Great. So we see before, when we typed echo without any arguments, hello world was immediately directed back in a terminal. When we typed echo hello world, I'm just going to guess that's greater than output.txt, we see that wrote it to a file. And we use cat to view the contents of that file. When we echoed this and we wrote it to a file, it did not return back directly in terminal. Instead, that output was redirected into a new file. So we have a file, we have output.txt. Let's say that we want to create a copy of this file and put it on our desktop. What we could do is we could specify the file, the source, so it's going to be the source first, and then we can tell it where we want to put it. So for example, we could put it in the desktop. I'm going to show you a few ways that we could do this command. Here's one way, source and destination, and we see that copied. We can then cd into the desktop, and we see that in here. And we can type rm to delete the file. And then we can also type cd dot dot, which will allow us to go up a directory. Great. Let's talk some more about CP and some basic Linux syntaxing. So earlier, we ran this command. And this command caused the output.txt to be copied into our desktop folder. Let's talk about this situation. Let's say we are in a different directory. So we are no longer in the home directory. There is no output.txt inside here because it's in our home directory. We don't need to be in the directory of the file in order to copy it. If we're not in the directory with our file, then we cannot simply say cp output.txt because our Linux terminal will not know where this file is. If we're not in the directory where a file is, then we need to specify a full path. So in this example, if we type cp/home/kali/output.txt, cp/home kali output, And let's say we want to copy it to the desktop, right? Then we give it the destination after the source. Home, Kali, desktop. And we see that also worked. Let's talk about a few other ways that'll work. So just like before, we can also delete a file without being in its directory by specifying the full path to that file. Boop. One more thing I want to show. So because our home directory and tilde are effectively the same thing, this symbol and /home/Kali/ are effectively the same thing. So we can type cp, and instead of /home/Kali, we can type tilde/output tilde/desktop. And we see that this is effectively the same command as this, because tilde is /home/Kali. And tilde here is, again, /home/Kali. And again, to delete a file, we can say tilde/desktop. Actually, we specify rm tilde/desktop/output. And we see that file was deleted. Let's go back to our home directory. So you might be in a situation sometimes where instead of wanting to create a copy of a file, we just want to move the file and not make an additional copy. Let's do an example. So if I type mv output.txt desktop, that's going to move the file to the desktop, which causes it to no longer be in our current directory. This is because we did not create a copy, we moved the original file instead with the mv command. One more thing to note is if we want to use cat to view a file, we don't have to be in that same directory. For example, we could say cat desktop/output hello world. One more thing I want to demonstrate. So notice how here we did not specify a tilde/, we did not specify a full path. That's because desktop is within our current directory, so our Linux system knows where this is, and it knows that there's an output.txt inside of it. If we specified a full path anyways, it's gonna give us the same output. Additionally, instead of using a tilde, if I did /home/Kali, it's all gonna be the same output. Great. Now, the next thing to note is the man command. The man command will bring up manuals for various different tools. For example, this is the Nmap manual, which is quite long. If we're ever unsure about how to use a tool, we can use the man page or the manual of that tool. For example, man ls. Great. The next tool I want to demonstrate is a little bit more complicated, but it's really key to understanding just how Linux works and how basically just so much stuff relies on grep. Let's just get into it. So I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to show you also a new way that we can create a file. So before we created a file by saying, for example, echo, hey, and then put it, so we wrote hey to a file called apple.txt. Cool. And we can delete that file. So that's one way to make a file. Another way we can make a file is with nano. Let's talk about why nano can be nice. So I'm going to say nano food.txt. And we can see we're in a new user interface. We're no longer in the terminal. When this opens up, we can begin to type. So I'm going to say, for example, apple, $2, banana, $4, potato, $6. Carrot, $1. And I'm just gonna type like blah, blah, blah. It's random strings. Okay. Oh, and if we type Control X, we see this window, Save Modified Buffer. I type Y, which then takes us to this file to confirm that we want to keep it the same name. In this case, yes. So I'm just going to hit Enter. Great. So now we can cat it to view the output. Great. Let's say that instead of just like 10 lines or however much this is, let's say that this restaurant's menu has 500 different pieces of food on it, right? And they give us the menu in a food.txt file. Well, we only want to know the price of a carrot. We're only hungry for a carrot, but we don't want to flip through the entire menu. So what we can do for that is we can use cat, but then we can also type the pipe symbol. The pipe symbol is usually on the top right of your keyboard above the enter. So then we can type pipe grep carrot. And that's going to show us only the lines in the file that have the word carrot. This can be really, really essential for filtering through different files. As an example, when you're enumerating a target's, when you have a shell on a target, when you've accessed a target's computer, you might want to filter through, for example, configuration files to find passwords. If we were to cat a configuration file and then grep password, we would see where the password is in that file. There's many, many, many more Linux tools, but I feel these tools are the most essential for you to begin your Linux journey. So a quick refresher. ls shows us the files in our current directory. pwd shows us our current directory. Tilde and /home/Kali are the same thing. cd, change directory. For example, I moved to root. Echo, hello. We can use that to have content be returned back. And we could then, from any directory that we have permission over, of course, we can write a file. So hello.txt. And ls, confirm that's there. Great. Additionally, we can use nano. Great. Cool. Next, we have cp. So for example, we can copy potato to our home directory. When we go to our home directory, we can see potato is in there. We can move that file, for example, to the temp directory. And when we use mv, that's going to remove the existing copy instead of creating an additional copy. We can use rm to delete a file. We can also specify multiple files at one time. Great. And man is used to pull up the manual for different tools. And grep can be used to filter for whatever string you're looking for. So let's say I want BL. Any strings that have the letters BL. Well, we see blah, blah, blah. I hope this video is quite informative. I would suggest that you watch this video one more time and then take some notes on all of these different tools. After you feel like you're ready, go ahead and begin the exam and see how you do. After the exam, we'll continue on again with the next video. Cheers.